So, thank you for joining us again for another video. So this one is going to be a series of videos on Butterworth Hall Colliery and its pumping station, which was built by Oldham Corporation in 1912. So we're going to go through a bit of the history of the pumping station, its continued use now, and some of the reasons as to why it was built as well. So here we are looking at the 1928 map, so you can see the pumping stations clearly shown. The colliery off to the left, which was Butterworth Hall Colliery, that was built in around the 1850s and works up to 1928. In later years it was owned by Platt Brothers. So here we see the coke ovens, which were built at first with colliery, and then later on Platt Brothers built some more coke ovens actually at the colliery itself. So the tramway fell out of use in later years. There's going to be a future video on this. So you can see the pumping station there, which we shall be having a look at on this video, as well as Butterworth Hall Mill to the right and the colliery. So the area I'm highlighting there was a boiler house with 2 Lancashire boilers in. That is what supplied steam to the couple of the engines on site, and as well as the pumping engines. So here we see the 1956 map, so you can see it's changed quite a bit around the area. Colliery is now gone. As I said, that fell out of use in 1928. The pumping station is still there and in use. The buildings you can see next to the where it says reservoir were some of the original buildings on site. That was a boiler house as well as a few others. I'll be doing a future video as well as on this. So you can see the pumping station is still there with the reservoir. So we'll be able to see the reservoir in a little bit later on this video. So here we are looking at the tramway again. So again, it's well and truly disused by this point. So this is fairly local to me, so I'll be doing, say, a few videos on it to bring it into attention really. So here we see the pumping station as it was this Christmas. So you can see the wall going up the side with pumping station and workshop to the left. So this was the original road up to the coke ovens, with the tramway on the left hand side of the pumping station. They ran up to the coke ovens and then up to Tunshall Colliery originally. So here we see the wall. It's the site's still used. It's now used by a civil engineering company. Water's being pumped directly from the former colliery site now. So there we see the pumping station. So off to the right was originally playing fields. I can remember it being playing fields in that area, and it now has a part of a housing estate on it. There is still playing fields there, but much reduced from what they originally were. So as I say, I'll be watch out for the next video, as this will be following this walk and walking all the way up to the golf course. So you can see just come to the end of the wall there around the former pumping station. So this was built in 1912, as I say, and was opened on March the 25th, 1912. So on these future clips that are coming up, going to go through the history a bit more of the pumping station. So, quite lucky to have the details of the pumping station and the opening day as well. So, the Waterworks Committee was chaired by Mr. Alderman Greaves, and the invited guests included the Mayor and councillors from Oldham at the time. The engineer was Mr. C.J. Batley, and the General Manager was Mr. A. Andrew. So the programme for the day on March 25th, 1912 consisted of leaving the town hall at 2 p.m, 2:45 they arrived at the town at Butterworth Hall, so they entered the reservoir and did an inspection of it. This was a concrete built reservoir, concrete arch built. They then assembled in the engine house. The vice chairman, Mr. Alderman James, unveiled a commemoration tablet. The chairman, Mr. Alderman Greaves, then started the engines and pumps. There was 2 cross compounds built by Aston Frost and Co. A vote of thanks then was given to the mayor and also the other dignitaries on site. At 4:30 p.m. they left for Piethorne Reservoir to have a look at the outlet and water being discharged from Butterworth Hall. At 5:15 they left Piethorne for the Oldham Town Hall, and at 6 o'clock they had tea at the Town Hall. So quite a unique set of interest. So the programme for the evening, so it gives details of songs that were sung. So first song was The Windmill by sung by Mr. Harry Hilton. So first of all there was a toast to the King and also a toast to the Queen and the rest of the royal family. A couple of the songs were success of the Butterworth Hall scheme. That was a toast by the mayor, the prima donna sung by Miss Alice Mate, and that went on for quite a few hours. So some of the food they had, the programme that I have details all these wonderful things that happened on the day. So some of the main courses were roast ribs of beef, roast lamb. Sweets were French and English pastries, trifle, scones, and there was a wide selection of wine as well. So that was all on the 25th of March 1912. That was open and formally brought into use. So on this picture, on a previous picture, in this picture you can see the main pumping station. The pictures of the pumping station, other than this one, are from around the opening or just before the opening. So here we see the site in its use now as a civil engineering depot. So the waterworks was constructed by the Oldham Corporation in, as I say, in about 1912. It was designed to pump around 1 million gallons a day up to Piethorne Reservoir. And it drained the disused workings of Butterworth Hall and Tunshall Colliery. So all this info comes from the brochure that was given out when the pumping station was opened. So the quantity of water it was estimated that could be obtained was 750,000 gallons per day. And in the end, they actually pumped out around 1 million. The water was said to be very, very pure in the colliery, and it was said to be the purest in the district, and could be drunk straight from the waste in the mine, as it ran between the tram tracks. So the site of the pumping station contained an area of around 3,600 square yards. It was a brick-built construction with terracotta fancy bits added on. The storage reservoir had a capacity of 225,261 gallons and had a maximum length of 111 feet, a width of 58 feet, and around 11 feet 2 inches in height from floor to top of the arched roof, and having a depth of around 9 feet 6 inches water when full. So, as I say, the reservoir was constructed of concrete. We'll see a picture of this a little later on in this video. So the floor of the reservoir was constructed of concrete with reinforced steel bars, and it was divided into 9 arched bays. So here we see a side view of the pumping station with the workshop, top of the reservoir with the vents, and the rear of the main pumping station. So we'll see inside of that on a slightly later in this video. So the main buildings on site are comprised of an engine room, workshop, store, mess rooms and lavatory. They were constructed of new A brick, which is some of the hardest brick in the country. Contrary to popular belief, a lot harder than Accrington brick actually. So the workshop was around 20 feet long by 15 feet wide, storeroom 13 feet by 9 feet, and the mess room 13 by 10 feet. The lavatory was roughly 20 feet long by 6 foot wide, and the engine room contained the 2 Ashton Frost cross-compound pumping engines. The engine room itself was 60 feet by 41 feet wide and 19 feet 6 inches high at its highest point. So the steam was provided from the, as I say, from the pumping station itself. So we'll go into a bit more detail. So the engine beds and pier caps were from Fletcher Bank quarries, and the coping and pipe trenches were from Yorkshire quarries, so the stuff was brought from quite far and wide. The floors of the workshop, pipe trenches and that were covered with concrete flags made by the Oldham Corporation. The steam pipes were fed from the colliery, as I say, and were in a brickwork subway from the colliery, which was 138 feet long and 3 foot wide by 4 feet 6 inches high. So this was where the steam was brought in. So the steam was brought in on this picture roughly from the right, and the channel you could see when the old footpath was there before it was rerouted, you could see running underneath. So steam was supplied by means of a 5-inch diameter steel pipe, a length of 150 foot on cast iron rollers, and the pressure at the main stop valve at the engine was 70 psi. So that all dropped quite a bit from the boilers. The indicated horsepower for the engines was 88.5 indicated horsepower. The cylinders were of a diameter of 34 inches with a stroke of 2 feet 6 inches, and the pumps having a diameter of 2 feet 6 inches and a stroke of 2 feet 6 inches, and a ram barrel inch diameter of 8, and a speed of 182.5 feet per minute. So the cut-off valve, so the valve gear for the engine was of a Mayer type. So you can still see a Mayer type working at Ellen Road Steam Museum with the formerly white engine that runs in the boiler house. Governor was a Pickering type, and the air pump was a Edwards vertical single acting type of 13-inch diameter with a 12-inch stroke, and that was driven by a shaft from the main crankshaft. So the flywheel was made in 2 halves of 10 feet 6 inches and weighed around 6.5 tons and revolved at around 36.5 revolutions, or 1,203 feet per minute. There was also a horizontal surface condenser as well. They also reheated the steam between the cylinders to get more efficiency out of the used steam from the high pressure to the low pressure. The suction pipes from the reservoir were 14-inch in diameter. So just to go back to the photo that you can see at the moment, that's the rear three-quarter view of the pumping station itself. The bridge you see in the foreground is over the tramway, and you can just about make out the tram lines going past. So as I say, these went up to the coal ovens and originally up to Tunshall Colliery. So it connected the two collieries, mainly to get coal down from Tunshall. So let's go back to the engine. So the water was pumped and measured by a Venturi meter, which we do see in one of the photos coming up. And the main engine and rail, the main engine, and pipes heading up to the reservoir were around 4,750 yards long and weighed in total 680 tonnes. So these were laid along public roads and over railways and streams, and you can still see these today in places. So the inlet to Piethorne Reservoir was of masonry construction and was 11 feet long by 6 feet 3 inch wide, and a masonry channel. So this was what fed water into the reservoir. So the whole scheme was estimated to cost in the region of £25,200, which was a fair old bit of money for that time. Contractor for the pumping station was Mr. Jarvis Bewley of Oldham, and the contractor for the storage reservoir was an S&J Smethurst Limited, Oldham. So you can see the storage reservoir now in the photo, and you can see it's of concrete construction and is dry in this. This taken before it was brought into use. As I say, the main engine and pumping machinery was supplied by Messrs Ashton Frost and Co of Blackburn, and the cast iron pipes by James Oates and Co of Atherton. So the underground works at the colliery and the supply and laying of delivery remains to the storage reservoir was carried out by Messrs Platt Brothers and Co Limited, who, as I say, were textile machine makers. So we see the so as I say in this photo, you can see the reservoir. So here we are looking at the engine. So as I've already gone through the engine, I'll just go through so you can see the flywheel, main crank, connecting rod, trunk guides and cylinders, as well as the pumps. So here's a closer up view of the cylinder, flywheel, trunk guide and pumps. And again, here's a closer up view of it. And here's a view of the pumps, so you can see the Venturi meter as well in the distance. So, thank you for watching, and hope you've enjoyed it. And watch out for the future videos in this series.